What's the news?
Watch this.
Are you going to say something?
I just want to say,
There it is.
I'm trying to be very respectful to everybody because they deserve it.
Why?
But let me say that, no, because you deserve it. But let me say this. I don't think Washington understands how ticked off we truly are. Think about the conversation that we're having right now. You brought up the single-payer system, emulating Canada. You know, we're looking at a president that just gave $20 billion to Argentina. We're hearing about or witnessing what I consider to be a retribution tour. And even though to some degree I don't blame him because of how people went after him, still it appears to be counterproductive. We're listening to this kind of stuff while a young man walked up to the microphone and said that he had to leave here to go and work on DoorDash to help pay for his daughter's tuition. Meanwhile, everybody up here getting paid. But he ain't.
This is this kind of stuff right here. That's how you know, and I'm not accusing any of you directly or personally of feeling this way. I'm just talking about the apparatus that is Washington, the nation's capital. This is why you have so many Americans, excuse my language, so pissed off at Washington, because somehow, some way you get to have these conversations, engage in specific elements of it to talk about what we need to do to get things better. Our debt is $37.8 trillion. Somehow, some way, the taxpayer's been paying this, been throwing money, because we all look at our check, and it's been going to the government. And somehow, some way, you're supposed to be doing something constructive and productive enough to make sure that we don't have that kind of deficit. It isn't happening. A government shutdown is going on right now. A man has to work on DoorDash when he's really an air traffic controller that we applauded. And we're up here talking about how much some money is going to cost. And the only person that don't have a check coming is him. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a break. All right.
Stephen A. Smith didn't just make a point. He made a scene on Live Stephen A. Smith didn't just make a point. He made a scene on live television. In front of a national audience, he went after the state of Washington, declared Americans were fed up, stormed off the stage mid-discussion, then came right back like he forgot he wasn't on first take. But here's the twist. This wasn't about LeBron James or the Dallas Cowboys. This was a town hall about a government shutdown. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button because we're about to break down one of the clearest signs of Stephen A. Smith's evolution as a public figure, and why his recent appearance on NewsNation exposed something that honestly says a lot about the state of political commentary. Because what Stephen A. just did is basically the perfect snapshot of everything wrong with the modern commentary machine. An air traffic controller had just stood up and talked about how he had to pick up a DoorDash job to pay his daughter's tuition during a government shutdown. The entire room went quiet. It was a real, painful human moment. And instead of turning it into a conversation about why the system keeps failing people like him, Stephen A. turned it into a performance. And the clip blew up because that's what clips are built to do now. But the problem isn't that it went viral. The problem is that, with all that fire and all that preach mode energy, nothing he said actually offered substance. No direction. No clarity. Just theatrics built for trending. So stick around because we're breaking down what Stephen A. actually did, why it matters, and what it reveals about the current state of American commentary. Let's get into it. The moment. Performative emotion versus genuine leadership. This air traffic controller stepped up to the mic at a NewsNation town hall, explaining he's been with the FAA for 16 years. Multiple shutdowns, countless disruptions, and now he's driving for DoorDash after work just to keep his daughter in school. That's a moment that demands real depth, solutions, policy talk, actual context. That's a moment begging for leadership. Stephen A. heard that story and responded with a polished, fiery rant. He hammered Washington for being out of touch. He talked about debt, political dysfunction, and regular people struggling while politicians keep collecting checks. Then, in classic Stephen A. fashion, he walked off the stage. And in that split second, it probably felt powerful, like someone finally saying what people were thinking. Maybe it even felt like leadership. But what it actually was television. A moment built for a highlight reel. The timing was flawless, the emotional beat perfect, the dramatic exit executed like a veteran entertainer. It had a clean 3-act structure made to go viral. And it did. The clip spread fast. People watched. People argued. Stephen A. dominated the conversation. But did anything change? Did the shutdown suddenly make more sense? Did anyone walk away understanding the issue better? No, because the moment wasn't built for clarity, it was built for spectacle. What could have happened instead? Charles made a point that's worth sitting with. He said he wanted Stephen A. to take that moment and say something like, "Here's what I would have done to make sure we didn't end up in this political deadlock." He could have broken down why Republicans and Democrats were stalled. He could have explained how the legislative process works during a shutdown. He could have broken down the structural polarization that's freezing everything in place. That's information voters actually need. He could have said, "If you voted for Trump, these are the policies you supported and here's how they're affecting you now. If you voted for Harris, here's her fiscal approach." He could have pushed the air traffic controller a little. "You voted based on positions. Are you surprised by the outcome? Or did you expect something different?" That would have been substance. That would have been education. That would have helped people walk away with real understanding. Instead, we got a speech that sounded good in clips but offered no tools, no direction, no path forward. He made people feel heard, but he didn't make anyone smarter. He made them angry but not informed. And in politics, that's the difference between commentary and leadership. That's the difference between dominating a moment and actually helping people understand it. The formula that's now backfiring. Stephen A. has built an entire media empire on a very specific formula. Confrontation, passion, theatrics, and big dramatic moments. And to be fair, that formula is great for First Take. It works beautifully in sports because sports are meant to be entertainment. Fans want that intensity. They want fireworks. They want the debates, the shouting, the walk-offs because it's all part of the show. But Stephen A.'s been drifting into political territory, and suddenly the old formula isn't translating. Sports can be dramatic. Politics needs context. Sports thrive on emotion. Politics requires clarity. Passion without substance in sports is fun. Passion without substance in politics is just noise. And Stephen A. is putting First Take energy into political forums. He's bringing the walk-offs, the big gestures, the fire and brimstone commentary into conversations where people are looking for help, not hype. It works for virality, but it doesn't work for society. And he's not the first to go through this. Whitlock, Skip Bayless, the bigger the brand got, the more extreme the theatrics became. As the reactions kept escalating, the substance kept shrinking. Eventually, the spectacle became the entire brand. And at some point, people stopped taking it seriously. Stephen A.'s heading down that same road. He's mastered the attention game. He knows how to command a room. He knows how to trend. But he's losing credibility because every time he walks off a stage instead of digging deeper, every time he picks spectacle over analysis, every time he treats a tough moment like content, he signals that he's chasing relevancy, not answers. The bigger problem, performative commentary in America. This isn't just about Stephen A. It's about the entire system he operates in. News, sports, politics. Everything's merged into one giant content economy. And in that economy, outrage equals views. Drama equals clicks. Viral equals valuable. There's no incentive anymore to go deep. No incentive to educate. Just incentive to provoke. Stephen A. walking off a NewsNation panel isn't random. It's exactly what the system rewards. A thoughtful breakdown of why government shutdowns keep happening won't trend. But one dramatic walk-off? Instant virality. Why this matters. Here's the part that should actually concern us. It's not that Stephen A. walked off. It's that the walk-off, with no substance behind it, was celebrated like a win. The audience clapped. Social media shared it. News outlets ran with it. And meanwhile, that air traffic controller walked away with no answers. No clarity. Just entertainment. And that's the cost. When people are genuinely struggling, working 2 jobs, juggling bills, Stressed about political chaos, they need leadership, not spectacle. They need someone to explain how we got here and what can be done. Not someone performing frustration and then leaving the room. And the more commentators pick performance over substance, the more this becomes the standard. Tells future voices, don't dig deep, go big. Don't educate, entertain. And we end up with commentary that's all heat and no light. The uncomfortable truth about Stephen A. Let's be clear. I don't think Stephen A. is heartless. I don't think he's indifferent to people struggling. His anger about the shutdown is real. But I do think he's prioritizing his brand over actual leadership. He picked the viral moment over the meaningful one. He turned real human pain into content. Because yelling about problems is easy. Offering solutions is hard. Anyone can raise their voice. Not everyone can break down policy or help people understand the mess they're in. Real leadership requires depth, patience, clarity, and Stephen A. isn't doing that right now. He's choosing spectacle over substance. What this reveals about modern commentary. The whole moment exposed the system we're living in. A NewsNation town hall is supposed to be a place for real, grounded discussion about real issues. Instead, it became a stage for content creation. Platform for dramatics, a viral moment generator. And honestly, that's not just on Stephen A. That's the entire design of our media ecosystem. It rewards performers over thinkers, engagement over understanding. Stephen A. is just playing the game better than most. But the cost is real, a public that feels seen but not helped. A system that talks loudly but solves nothing. A discourse that burns hot and burns out fast. Final word. Passion without substance is just noise. Passion is good. Passion about people struggling during shutdowns is necessary. But passion without substance is just noise. It doesn't move anything forward. A real leader would have taken that air traffic controller's story and said, here's how this happened. Here's why it keeps happening. Here's what needs to change. Here's what I propose. Instead, Stephen A. delivered a moment that felt big but accomplished nothing. And that's the model we're increasingly accepting. Spectacle over solutions. Performers over problem solvers. Viral over valuable. And until audiences stop rewarding that and start demanding depth, nothing's changing. Stephen A. is simply giving people the kind of content the system has trained them to want. We're the ones who have to demand something better. If you made it this far, you clearly want real analysis instead of empty theatrics. That's what we try to deliver every week. So if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and drop your take in the comments. Was Stephen A. wrong to walk off? Should he have gone deeper? Or is the system just built this way? Let's talk about it below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.